to think that art came from inspiration, but I don't anymore. Because it, in my own case, I mean, it's always been pressure. The pressure comes, the stress and the pressure comes, and then the art and the creativity comes. Normally, in my case, that's the way it works. You can look at musicians, they go into a studio, and that studio, they have pressure because in the old days, it used to be really expensive. I would imagine it would be now, but they don't really use studios anymore. Everything's digital. But it was really expensive to commit to studio time. And I think if you're going into a big studio today, it still would be, but I don't know. But you had that stress and that pressure to produce, and you were had stress and pressure to produce a hit song. So a lot of art and creativity is created under a great deal of stress and pressure. In fact, my art came at a point in 2019 when I was ready to basically just check out, but I had art instead. It seems like the whole time I've been doing art, the whole time I've been doing anything creative, when I look back, there's been an intense amount of stress and pressure going on. And it's not just as simple as sitting there and allowing creativity just to come. It does, and it works that way. But a lot of the times, creativity has to come through stress and pressure, and through the rupture is the creation that happens. And sometimes that rupture actually destroys the creator. And sometimes, in a lot of cases, it advances the creator. But there's always that stress and pressure. And I'm not saying that you need stress and pressure to create great art or be creative. You don't. Because creative people can just have inspiration and intuition and work on that. But there's a lot of people like myself who their art comes about and changes not through conscious decision, but through stress and pressure. It seems like the worse my life has been, and the more stress and pressure that I've been under, the more my art would advance and change, and it would come. And that was what I was relying on. Some people check out on drugs, alcohol, whatever. I would just do art. So I can honestly say some of the strongest creative periods of my life came out of collapse, pressure, instability, obsession, financial stress, and just plain survival. The last 2 years of my life and my wife's life have been extremely difficult. In fact, one of the things I don't want to get into this whole subject right now and talk about, but my wife and I spent some time after we lost our 4 bedroom, uh, 2 bath house with a pool. And the reason I mention that is because we went directly into that house, from that house into homelessness. And we would spend about a month and a half in a homeless shelter. And we were lucky to get into where we got into together because they usually split you apart. So my wife and I and our dogs would have been completely split apart, but we weren't. So we were blessed and we were lucky. And the reason I bring that up is because in a homeless shelter, in a one room, it used to be an old hotel, a dingy, old, rundown hotel. In that one room, I created a lot of art in that room. And the art, the symbols started to come at that point. It was purely symbols. So here, let me show you some of the stuff that I did, some of the drawings, some of the things I created while I was in there. So these drawings are some of the first ones I did while I was in the shelter. And I actually think all three of these go together. Definitely two of them go together, but I think actually all three of them really go together as far as the symbols and things on them. And then I did three smaller works, And then here I'll show you those as well. These were all done while I was inside the shelter. I had a little wood TV table, my dog's kennels, a little table by the bed, and an old dirty chair that I wouldn't use that I would put my art on. That became my studio. I went from a big studio to that. So the raw symbols started in the shelter, and they went right from the paper onto petrified wood, which is strange because the second year in 2021, around 2021, when I was doing my art, I started painting on petrified wood and creating on petrified wood. And it came back big time because, and everything I've ever done on petrified wood has always been pure symbols. So that's been symbols, petrified wood and crystal, but mostly petrified wood. That's where pure symbols have always come from. So after I did these paper drawings, then I did some work on petrified wood. I'd show you the petrified wood, but I don't even have any of it because the pieces that I did while I was in the shelter, I gave them away to a few people in there that I had met and built somewhat of a relationship with that I could trust. And the guards that protected us and the people who ran the place and were looking after us as well, I turned them on to things before I left. Gave them some of the petrified wood. So I don't really have any of that. But that's when things started to change and these symbols started just coming, and it wasn't about the objects anymore. It was just about getting the symbols out. And I was going through one of the worst things I've ever gone through in my life, and that's homelessness. But at the same time I'm homeless, I'm like, I just have to do art. I have to get these symbols out. And my wife was just like checked out basically. But then you get kind of used to your situation. At first it's shocking, and it's you don't know how to deal with this new life, this the whole new experience that you're going through. And then you start to get used to it. You never really get used to it, but you start to kind of understand it, how it works, how people are. You learn a lot. And it prepared us for what was to come for sure, for sure. If it had not been for that homeless situation, we would not have been ready for what was going to come after that. So it was a great primer. And they told us when we first went in there, I mean, we went straight from our home and drove there, and we were homeless in that shelter. And when they checked us in, they said people usually come in from the street into here. They don't come out of a 4-bedroom home, 2-bath home into the shelter. That's just not what it usually happens. People in here have been here for a while and they come off the street. And I'll talk about that in another video because it was an eye-opening experience, an amazing experience, both good and bad. I can talk about some really radically bad, awful things that have happened to myself and my wife without becoming very emotional about it. And you'll find that because these things happened. And unfortunately, or fortunately, when I look back, I see growth. I see me becoming better. I see my art becoming better. Uh, I see my mind becoming stronger. Um, the stress and pressure is basically what is my creative spark. And it's not that I need stress and pressure to be able to create, but it's the stress and pressure that I've had in my life and have in my life that I think make my art so special, and make it what it is. Um, because living in a house for 10 years and having a nice size studio and everything, and I could do whatever I wanted, and I didn't have any financial worries at that time. Uh, I did some amazing creative things. But you have to remember, at the same time, in 2020, when that was happening, what was going on in the world in 2020 for years, and then what was going on after that. And that's when my art came and it was flourishing. So maybe my world inside the house, isolated, locked down, was, to be honest, not that stressful at the time. But the stress of what was going on in the world and the community and outside was intense. And that's when the art was blowing up and coming into its own. And at times things have slowed down, but as life has changed and got more stressful, more pressure, it it doesn't change. It's the same symbolic system I've been working on for the last almost 6 years now. So that it's just different forms and different ways. But there's a lot more to it now. And it's it's more real. It's not a hobby. It's not decoration. It's an object that holds weight, holds power, an object of concentration. And when I look back, and I'll talk about all these things, some horrible things, but out of it, I become a better human being and learned how to deal with people, life, and make some incredible art at the same time. So that's basically what this channel is about. This channel is not going to be about me complaining about the life I've lived and how I live and right now, even living in the ghetto. It's me talking about how it's changing me as a human being and making me better, and how I'm realizing now that I had to go through all these awful experiences to be who I am and for my art to become what it's become. And the really strange thing is I've talked to other people in this area that are living in the ghetto and going through the same thing. And they say the same thing that I do, that they've become better. They understand humanity and people more. They understand themselves more. We're definitely all more grateful, um, more appreciative of life, more appreciative now of what we have. I didn't appreciate shit when I lived in my house. I'll be honest with you. I lived in that nice big house with my big yard and my pool, and I didn't appreciate shit. I was miserable all the time. And in the environment I'm in now, have been for the past year almost, talking to people off and on. Um, Man, my life wasn't miserable or bad at all compared to what like I'm hearing from other people. And so it's like just destiny sometimes that we lose things and we have collapse in our lives and intense stress and pressure that we have to go through. But looking back, it seems like it's all for a reason. Especially in my case, I can say it's all for a reason, and I'm going through it and have been through it um, to make me a better, deeper thinking human being and artist for sure, for sure. So if you want some to hear some content that you're not going to get on the internet, because I'm not going to be complaining and talking shit about anything. I'm going to be talking about how you get into this really, really interesting and bad situations, and how as many lemons as you get, you make lemonade out of it, and you make sweet lemonade out of it. And at the time, it seems like hell, but hell passes, and then you look back and say, "Wow, I'm better because of it." And if you can do that, and you can have those contained ruptures from that stress and pressure to where you become better from them and more, and maybe use them creatively, intuitively, as inspiration instead of allowing it to destroy you, because that's what it does. The ruptures either transform one way or the other, in a positive way or in a destructive way. For some people, the destructive way is the positive way, I guess. I don't know why, my life has been the way it is and why I have to go through what I have to go through to do what I do, but it is what it is. I mean, what can I? Life is what life is. We can control it to a certain extent, so much, and that's all we can really do. So, if you're interested in what my art, take a look at it, and if you're interested in what I'm having to say, come back, join me. I'll be talking about a lot of subjects and probably touch on a lot of things that probably you and other people have been through and don't think you could handle if it happened to you, or didn't think you could handle, and you understand where I'm coming from, because from the situation you become a lot better for it. So I appreciate you tuning in and having listened to what I have to say. Thank you.